is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends, because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Car Firearms Group studio
At the Patriot Mobile Communication Center.
on the CZ Platinum microphone.
Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast begins right now. We're going to kick off your week for you here in the Car Firearms Group studios. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom today and every day, 6 days a week. And we are here at the Patriot Mobile Command Center on the CZ microphone. Greg in Dallas, Texas, on hundreds of radio stations. How you doing, my brother?
Not too bad. Here we are, Sunday night.
Yeah, man, I tell you, we got a little bit late start today. I'm not sure what happened there. And those of you that like to watch the show, welcome in. You can watch us over on Facebook.com, Facebook.com/Armed American Radio. You can also watch us, not just on Facebook, but Rumble.com/Armed American Radio as well. And Greg, I fell. I cut my beard off. I kept the goatee. Like the goatee. I kept the beard. I just couldn't handle the itch. And fortunately, there was no money on it. You knew I was going to lose it.
Yeah, I knew you weren't going to make it.
You predicted it on air. You did. I'll let you do your thing, and we'll go to our first guest, Justin Davis, Director of Public Affairs for the National Rifle Association. We have a good one lined up for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Greg, take it away.
Yeah, sure. Other places to watch the show are going to be YouTube. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. You can watch us on X at AAR Mark. You can also head over to the website, armedamericanradio.org or .com. Hit that menu icon, then select your watch live or listen live option. And lastly, if you'd like to join our live chat, all you have to do is download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
I guess I should bring my mic up. How about
Yeah,
that?
that might help.
That might help a little bit. Justin Davis, NRA, Director of Public Affairs, my friend. How are you doing today, brother?
How are you doing tonight?
Mark, I'm doing great, man. I'm doing really good. I'm glad to have you on the program today. We have a lot to cover, Justin. Are you ready to get started? Because you got to buckle in, man. It flies right by, my friend.
I'm always ready, and you're absolutely right. There's a whole lot going on. I'm happy to be here to talk about it.
Well, let's start with what's coming up in, I'm going to, about 3.5 weeks. We're going to be together at the National Rifle Association over on Media Row. The annual meetings are occurring. Let's talk a little bit about that because it's a big one this year, as always. Let's talk about what we're expecting to see. I've got a lot of feedback that a lot of people are going to be there, want to come up and shake our paws and all that fun stuff. What can we expect this year in Houston, Tejas?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of my favorite events of the year is our annual meeting. It's so great. We have members from all across the country come to annual meeting. This year it's in Houston, Texas, and it's a can't-miss event. We got country music, guns, freedom, great political discussions, and obviously with the building out of Voices of the Second Amendment, we're so happy to have you there and so many other strong conservative voices for the Second Amendment. Folks get to meet their favorite producers, meet their favorite content creators. It's going to be a great time.
It's always so much fun, and they just get bigger every year. I'm going to guess. I like to do this every year. I'm going to say 86.5 will be the overall attendance. Am I being optimistic or am I being pessimistic, do you think? Hard to tell.
I think that's a good over-under for you. I'm not a betting man, but I think that's you could work in Vegas, I guess. So, no, I think that's, there's always a huge, huge push. And, the crazies we're seeing around the country with these crazy gun grabs and gun bans, it's really firing people up. So I think you're seeing a lot more folks get out, get activated, want to buy new firearms, and want to figure out how do I get involved and how do I make a difference.
Well, let's tell them how to do that because National Rifle Association, NRA, ILA, the most transparent I have ever seen this organization, and I am thrilled to be a part of that. And I'm thrilled to say that, Justin, because that really matters. And I think when, as I said, I've got a lot of communication with a lot of people that have said this is a new NRA, and it's refreshing. I keep hearing the word refreshing. Is that accurate?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, under the new leadership with Doug Hamlin, our CEO, under the leadership of John Comerford and NRA ILA, I mean, this is the most aggressive I've ever seen the NRA. I've been a member long before I worked here. And these are folks who want to be in the fight, who want to listen to members. One thing I think is so great, I've had a mandate from Doug Hamlin, our CEO, to turn the microphone away from us in Fairfax and back to our million of members and have them tell the story of why they're NRA members, why do they carry a firearm every day, what's it mean to them to be a proud gun-owning American. So there's been massive changes under the new leadership. I hope your members, hope your listeners see it and are hearing it. I know we talk a lot, and we love the feedback, and we're taking that feedback in real time and make sure we're implementing those new practices.
Well, it's working. I can only tell you what I see and what I hear, and it's working. And I'm just thrilled by that. I really, truly am. So many people were disappointed for so long, and now they're feeling refreshed and they're feeling energized. And I think that's going to be reflected in Houston in a huge, huge way. So I'm really looking forward to it. And like you, I've been a member of the National Rifle Association for a long, long time. And I've enjoyed watching the annual meetings get bigger and bigger and bigger. And, more so than just bigger, Justin, more important every single year. I've been through them through gun-hating administrations, gun-friendly administrations, and it just seems like the NRA just remains a constant with its membership base. And the fact that it's so refreshing now to see a new member, well, not a new membership base, but a new leadership team taking the NRA in a direction that it desperately needed to go. And I think that's going to be reflected in Houston. I really do. What are some of the what's some of the big focus right now of NRA? We can't have this conversation without going to Virginia. You're based in Virginia. Good heavens. How bad is it? Let's go there. Let's just go there. Peel it back. The Emperor's clothes off.
I'm sitting right here in the epicenter in Northern Virginia, and it's been a complete Northern Virginia takeover. I mean, you know this political scape well, and it's a microcosm of what's happening across the country. These urban elites are foisting their progressive policies on everybody in their state, whether it fits them or not. We're seeing a massive gun grab, a massive magazine ban, and it's really outrageous. And there's a lot of bills going to Abigail Spanberger's desk. She's making a political calculus, one, because we all know she's looking at running for president in a few years, and also, two, her redistricting referendum, which is going sideways in a hurry. I think it's woken up a lot of conservative voters, and a lot of folks who didn't come out to vote in November are saying, okay, I'm activated now. You've woken me up. And it's our chance to send a message to say, no, enough is enough. We're voting down this redistricting referendum, and we'll see you in court on these ridiculous gun control laws.
Okay, let's tackle both of these separately. Let's stay on the topic of the gun controls. There are 13 bills on that tyrant's desk, and I wish I had the photo to put up on screen for you right now, ladies and gentlemen. I think I'll grab it during the break, but it's Spanberger superimposed against the Wicked Witch of the West, and there's a huge physical resemblance there too, I might add. But there are 13 bills on her desk right now. Is there a possibility that she may veto one of these just to try to make it look like she's really not as bad as everybody thinks she is, or is she going to go full stop?
So it'll be interesting. I mean, she likes to play a moderate on TV, but her record says something completely different. We all know she's actively looking at higher office. Will she give a throwaway one? We don't know. We're prepared to file lawsuits on the full slate, so we're ready to rock no matter what she does. And as you know, Joe Greenlee, our legal team, that's a world-class operation over there. I wouldn't want to be Jay Jones and the Attorney General's office going up against our lawyers, but if that's the fight they want, that's the fight they'll get.
Yeah, he's been on the program before, and I'll just use this in a friendly term. Animal comes to mind. And I'm gonna guess, because it's not just the NRA, there will be, the NRA is going to be teamed up. There's no question about it. VCDL, I just got my latest. I'm a member of VCDL and have been for years, and I just got my report. And I almost hate to say it, but it was sad to read. It was very sad to read. And you talked about how gun owners are energized right now in Virginia. Let's just be really honest. Were they energized enough? Obviously not. Or is it just, I'll just ask you, Justin, the same question. Is there just too many of them right now and not enough of us? Or did we not show up? Let's be honest.
I think there was a complacency, right? I think you see it a lot. We're incredibly lucky to have President Trump in the White House, a pro-gun Supreme Court, and a pro-gun Congress. And folks, we see it all the time. Coming off the heels of another great win, people think it's going to stay that way. And, I always say Reagan's famous quote of, freedom is only one generation away from extinction. That's no longer the case. Freedom is one election away from extinction. And if you're not always vigilant, if you're not always ready to vote, if you're not always showing up to testify, if you're not showing up to your rallies, if you're not joining the NRA, you are not in the game and you are not protecting your rights, not only for you, but for your children and your grandchildren.
Yeah, and Virginia is the epitome. We've been driving this nail, into the floorboard since we knew she got elected, since we knew she was going to be elected. And we've been warning the country, it doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't live in Virginia. What you're seeing in Virginia is the absolute playbook. They've opened the playbook for what they want for you in the other 49 states, should they score a trifecta in Washington, Justin. And this should be an eye-popper for everybody, because we know what they want to do and they're doing it. Now, is there in Virginia? Well, let me put it this way. I'm going to guess that the moment she signs these bills, lawsuits will be flying. It's not like anybody's going to sit there and go, okay, what do we do now? We're prepared here right now, right?
100%. I mean, we're on calls all the time. You mentioned before about the coalition. I think one great thing that's developed under the new reform of the NRA is that we're working with coalition, and we're going to get ready to rock as soon as she signs those bills.
We've got another segment with Justin Davis. Justin, of course, is the NRA Director of Public Affairs at the National Rifle Association. Justin, hang in there. We've got one more segment with you. It's going to fly right by. We'll be back right after the break with Justin from the National Rifle Association. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Monstercast continues. Segment 2, well underway right now. We've got Justin Davis. He's the Director of Public Affairs for the National Rifle Association. Justin, I wish we could keep you for another, I'd say 2.5 more hours. Wouldn't be fun because we have so much to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard that rejoin for the National Rifle Association over the airwaves. We've got to be a little bit cautious on our internet for copyright strikes for music. We're going to be, if you're watching the show, and listening, you're going to hear some changes coming up with our intro music, and it'll be a lot of fun. We'll talk about that coming up later in the broadcast, but you'll enjoy it. It's going to be fun, and that little guitar back there behind me is going to be put to use, and those are the intros you're going to hear, so we're excited about that. Guys, you can join us, nra.org/AAR, nra.org/AAR. If you're not a member, please, I'm going to ask you right now, get off your duffs and join us. We need your help as you listen to this conversation. It is absolutely critical that we have you in this fight. Justin, welcome back to the show, my friend. So let's continue this conversation relative to what we are going to be, what we're going to be seeing, not just in Virginia, but across the country now. And the reason I say this and put it in these terms, Justin, is I keep pointing out that just because we don't live in Virginia, people have to understand that this is an ongoing fight in all 50 states. Virginia right now is at the forefront because they're literally opening the playbook for us. But this is continuing, particularly behind the blue wall. And as you were talking about, a lot of anti-gun legislation, we'll be talking about some of it later today. There's been movement in Texas with the bump stocks and all this other nonsense. We're going to be covering a lot of that today. But individual states, the NRA is not just fighting in Virginia, but the NRA is fighting across the country right now in states across the nation where the anti-gunners, just for whatever reason, and I'll go back to something that Alan Gottlieb said on the program from Second Amendment Foundation a while back. He said their creativity knows no bounds, and it doesn't, does it? They just keep coming. They just keep coming.
No, you're absolutely right. We're in all 50 states. Before I was in public affairs, I was our lobbyist up in New England, and that includes Massachusetts and Maine and New Hampshire. So it's a pretty wide spectrum, and you wouldn't believe just how rabid these people are. There is no understanding of the Second Amendment, and you cannot give these people an inch, because if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile every single time. We have to be vigilant, and just because you live in Alabama or Wyoming, if you don't see what's happening in Virginia, just on the doorstep of D.C., they're trying this out in a purple state to see what can they get away with when they hopefully never take power again. But if they do take power again, what they want to do for the United States government. And it's no longer about a fight in your state at that point if the entire federal government is coming down on your Second Amendment rights.
Well, speaking of taking power, there's a movement across the country, and it's on steroids now in Virginia. We'll focus not just on Virginia, but California and other states. Hochul's all over it, of course. Newsom is all over it. And that's the redistricting effort underway to cement power in these states, to keep Virginia blue permanently. And if you look at that redistricting map, and I know you have, everything converges right back up there, coincidentally, up in Northern Virginia. Virtually all of these new districts meet right there at that focal point, which will give them power in Virginia. Now, is it going to work in Virginia? Because there's an effort from other Democrats that are following lead. Spanberger is simply following the lead of Gavin Newsom and others as an attempt to not only maintain, but to keep power permanently. We heard James Carville talk about this. We've heard threats from Susan Rice, what they want to do to us once they regain power. This fight is not, ladies and gentlemen, it's not over. It's just beginning, is it not?
You're absolutely right. No, this is the very beginning. It's long ago when Illinois started their insane gerrymandering, where every single district somehow looped back into Chicago to turn those seats blue. You're seeing that now in Virginia and all these other states that are purple states. And this is not by accident. This is to usurp the power of the people. I mean, if you were in the middle of nowhere, Virginia, now you share the same congressional representation as somebody in Fairfax. Does that really make sense to you? Because it doesn't make sense to me. And, getting back to the original point here, this is urban elites trying to take on as much power as they possibly can. And they will do anything to bend the rules, whether it's packing the court, gerrymandering their way into power, or anything in between. This is a much larger push than just your gun rights. This is a complete, total takeover of progressive power. And people need to be vigilant about it. They need to wake up and they need to vote.
Is this all we have left now, is the court system?
Well, that's why people have to go out and vote. I can tell you right now, making sure you're killing gun control or passing good gun laws in state houses and on Capitol Hill is a lot less expensive than Supreme Court cases. But that's what the NRA is here for, right? So we try to stop those at their inception at the state houses across America, but we have the power of our legal department behind us to make sure that we put a nail in that coffin when they get going. And hopefully soon the Supreme Court follows up on their promise to take a hardware ban case the next year or so.
Yeah.
We're desperately waiting for it. We know it's pretty clear, cut and concise, and I think that will change the game once they finally say, no, you cannot implement these ridiculous sweeping gun bans purely based on aesthetics.
Well, Kavanaugh has signaled that clearly. And, you know, if they don't take I have to assume, I hate to assume, but I have to assume here, that the Supreme Court is paying very careful attention, the individual justices, to what's happening. At least 6 of them, hopefully, are paying very careful attention to what's happening in Virginia. They have ties in Virginia as well. They know what's going on behind that wall. They know what Spamberger is up to. And I would hope that that would be an impetus for them to get off their duffs at this point when they didn't take that Fourth Circuit case, that Brown case, the Snopes case, later the Brown case in Maryland in that Fourth Circuit, when they should have taken that. Yeah, golly, they didn't. But they have other ones to look at. Do you think this is going to get sped up? Is this going to help us with what's going on in your state?
I hope so. I mean, for every day they wait, it's another day that law-abiding citizens have their Second Amendment rights stripped away, and they should have acted by now. And now that they are the ones being impacted, because many of them likely live in Virginia,
right,
I think they may look through a different lens. And so we're hoping that this wakes up. I mean, I think this is waking up the whole country, just how far this has gone and how fast it's gone. And so we're hoping that the Supreme Court does the right thing, takes on a Second Amendment case that rules on hardware bans, finally strikes this down, and that's when the real fun begins, when we can start actually giving people their Second Amendment rights back.
Yeah, it's going to be, a mixed bag. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yep. And, you know, we're in a good place today because of the NRA back case, New York State Rifle Association v. Bruin. And, you know, that was a building block to get to where we are today. But we need a definitive answer from the Supreme Court that says, this is enough, you can't do this anymore, we're shooting this down.
All right, let's talk about the app. I want to get to the app here with you. Where are we with it? Because the NRA's got a new app right now. Powerful stuff, I'm sure. Tell us about it. What can we see it? When's it released? Is it out there now? What do we need to know?
Yeah, we just released it on Android and Apple. So on your iPhone store and your Android store on Google Play, the NRA launched a new app called the NRA app, and it is everything you'd ever need for a member. It's got your magazines, it's got your ILA updates, it's got all kinds of exclusive benefits and discounts for NRA members, and it's really a culmination of what people have been saying. They wanted something in real time from the NRA that gave them their news, that gave them what their membership card provides them. And, you know, this is just another example of how the NRA is working to modernize our operations and give people what they want. It's incredibly exciting. The downloads are through the roof. We're just behind New York Times as far as trending apps. So we're cooking here. We're having a good time.
Well, let's do one thing. Let's surpass the New York Times, for crying out loud, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, download the NRA app and see what's going on. Justin Davis, I love you, man. I can't wait to see you in just 3 weeks. We're going to have a good time together out in Houston. Justin Davis, Director of Public Affairs for the National Rifle Association, fighting on your behalf. Join us, nra.org/AAR. We'll be back right after this. AAR. Grab that discount and free shipping. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the show indeed. You heard that rejoin there coming back in. That's Blackout Coffee, blackoutcoffee.com/AAR. We'll put a QR code up there for you if you're watching on your screens in just a few minutes. But Greg asked me how many cups of Blackout Coffee I had today to start my day.
Mark, how many cups of Blackout Coffee did you have today?
I had 3 this morning. I was up playing guitar at 2 o'clock because we're working on that new intro, which is really coming along. And that's going to be a lot of fun. And I was having so much fun. I think I got up around 2:30. I said, you know what? I'm just going to play my guitar. So I did. And it worked. And Blackout Coffee got me through it. blackoutcoffee.com. Guys, make sure to check out blackoutcoffee.com/AAR and all of our great partners. You can find all of them at armedamericanradio.com. And I want to thank Justin Davis for being here from the National Rifle Association. You'll be hearing a lot more from Justin down the road. Looking forward to seeing him in Houston coming up in 3 weeks, and I'm looking forward to seeing you too. Hopefully you'll be there. Make sure to stop by Media Row, head over to our booth and say hi, and you never know, we might even mic you up because we're going to be we'll be taping a number of segments for this show, but we'll be bringing the Thursday and Friday shows live from the National Rifle Association in Houston, Texas. Make sure to check out all of our great partners, armedamericanradio.com. Let's go to Mike Sodini from Walk the Talk America, WTTA.org. You can see him up on your screens. Mike, it's great to see you on the radio yet again. How you doing, my brother?
Yeah, likewise, brother. Thank you for having me back on. Appreciate it.
I love it, man. I love your set back there, too. You got the same kind of colors going on back there that I do. It looks pretty good.
That's right. Got to look good.
Yeah, well, you do, brother. You do. Let's talk. Your shirt, Guns and Mental Health. I mean, what a great place to start, right? Let's go there. Guns and mental health. Our side has been saying for years that this is a mental health issue. We've seen this play out time after time after time after time. It seems to be the common denominator, and if I'm wrong, I want you to correct me there. So kind of approach your shirt, Guns and Mental Health, WTTA.org, from that perspective, and I'll just hand you the mic. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we all know the gun is a tool, right? It's just like anything. It's like a hammer. It's like a car, right? Everybody has mental health. It just depends on how much crisis someone has in their life. The biggest issue that we face as gun owners when it comes to gun violence, that number, which is inflated because suicide is the majority of it. It's either half or 2/3 at times, depending on the year. So the concept is guns and mental health are not mutually exclusive. They can go together. For many years, I think our side has always kind of looked at them as being separate, and they can't go together because they associate mental health with gun grabs and things like that. Walk the Talk America has created a lane where you can tend to your mental health. You can find solutions when you're in crisis without fear of restriction, without fear of consequence. So that's what Walk the Talk America was really created for, is to reduce any negative outcome of a firearm. So we have a program for everything, whether it's suicide prevention, inner city youth violence, negligence. I mean, it's all there for gun owners, by gun owners. It's our solutions for these issues.
All right, I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, okay? Because trying to convince somebody, and this is where I think, ladies and gentlemen, pay very careful attention. If you have issues or if you know someone who does, it's nothing to be ashamed of. We're all human beings, okay? That's why WTTA.org exists. If you need to talk to somebody, if you have questions, if you want to know what you should do, if you want to know what the ramifications of what you might be thinking about doing might be, that's what WTTA is there for, to answer these questions. But Mike, that's a heavy lift. If you live in a state that's actively using red flag laws on a regular basis, we've got a particular county in Florida where we have a sheriff down there who I happen to love, actively using red flag laws. This is a barrier to people wanting to seek help, and that's a heavy lift. Someone might call you, and you've probably gotten the calls. If you have, please let us know. It'd be a great time to talk about it. Where, I want to do something about this, but I'm not at a point where I'm going to risk giving up my guns. I live in Illinois. I live in New York. I live in California. I'll never get them back. I don't want that. They're going to put me on a list. They're never going to let me buy another. These are real life fears that real people have, right?
Yeah. I think gun owners really have a tough time when they're navigating the waters of mental health, especially in places where there's red flag laws. I always tell people that work in behavioral health, if you have a bad law, a red flag law in your state, the unintentional consequences need to be studied of that law, right? Like we put so much attention on how many lives did this red flag law save, and we're looking at it from the reverse side. How many people call us and say, I'm afraid to get help because of the red flag law in my state. I don't know what to do. How many people don't call us? That's the scary part, right?
Good point.
They white knuckle it. They're at stage 2, and now they're at stage 4, and that's when crisis happens. So yeah, I completely agree with what you say, but that's why Walk the Talk America needs to exist.
Well, it's true. Again, to get past that heavy lift, all we can do is ask somebody to make the call. I mean, make the call. It's as simple as that. Talk to somebody at WTTA and find out what it is they can do for you. Find out what your options are. Don't just default back to, they're going to take my guns, even if they know I called you. Right? Now, what happens? Do you get calls? I'm going to assume you do. That you get phone calls from family members, for example. Hey, I have something I want to talk with you about over here. I've got a family member that's a gun owner. I think they might be in crisis. How do you handle that versus getting a call? And for that matter, which one of those come into you more frequently? Some family member, maybe friend, close friend, or the actual person, the gun owner themselves? Is there a connection there?
Oh, it could be a mix at any given time, right? So you never know who's going to be contacting us through the website or calling or going on our website or social media and finding solutions that are already there. But the ideal situation is that we get upstream to prevent the unpredictable. We really don't want people in crisis. We want people to stay ahead of the game. That's why a lot of the solutions that we put forward on our website, if you look at if you visit the website and you go to the mental health plan, right, there's questions that are asked that kind of make you think as a gun owner, why not have a plan for your mental health? There's nothing wrong with that. Like we prepare for everything. We prepare for intruders that to come through the door at 3 a.m., right? So why not also add a mental health plan to having firearms? There's nothing wrong with that. And,
yeah, but that's hard to do, though,
coming
bro.
from a trusted messenger.
Yeah, that's hard to do. I'm looking at this from my perspective as I'm listening to you. I'm thinking, okay, fortunately, I haven't found myself in that situation. That doesn't mean that I couldn't at some point. Life throws everybody curveballs, and it's not easy to handle those curveballs from time to time, especially when whoever's pitching is throwing strikes, okay, to use that analogy. And we don't that takes a lot of self-reflection and a lot of honesty with ourselves. We have to be very honest with ourselves. How do we even know we might be in crisis? We might think, oh, I've been through this before. I can deal with this again. I guess we're the only ones that know that, and we have to be honest with ourselves. And I guess that's kind of what you're asking people to do, right? So what kind of plan is there with that?
Right.
Well, hold 1 second. Greg, how much time do we have in this segment? I don't want to have to stop. Mike, we come back.
1:10.
1:10. Okay, we've got some time here to get started on that. So what type of plan do you tell someone to have? What do you tell people to expect or what they should expect? What type of plan is there available? What should people be thinking about and doing in advance?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I can recommend out of the gate is visit our website and take a free and anonymous mental health screening. There's a screening 13 different types of conditions, right? Everything from anxiety to depression. It's free. It's anonymous, so we don't ask about firearms, but it kind of just tells you where you're at. And then you kind of have a baseline to go off of. You don't have to be in crisis to take a screening. You can be perfectly healthy just to make sure, you're checking off boxes. But, we get companies like Ruger and Versa and High Point. They put free and anonymous mental health screenings in the boxes of their guns. So it's a great place to start.
It is a great place to start, ladies and gentlemen. It was perfect timing, Mike. We're getting ready to take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation. We also have the auctions going on now. One of the auctions closes out in 2 days, ladies and gentlemen. The old Chuck Woolery. Chuck was a good friend of this show and a friend of mine. It will 2 and 2 here coming up. But in 48 hours, that auction's going to close. Mike, you can tell us about that auction and how it benefits WTTA and what it means. And guys, if you want to look at that during the break, if you can, just don't do that while you're driving. I don't want you to watch the show while you're driving either. Please listen to the program.
Funny.
We are on hundreds of radio stations. You've got one of these devices. Hopefully it's Patriot Mobile activated. Throw that plug in there for you so you don't do it while you're driving. But make sure to check out if you can. Okay, pogauctions.com. And we'll be right back with Mike Sodini. One more segment to go. Yeah, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom today and every day, 6 days per week. And we are here in the Car Firearms Group studios for you on this Monster Cast, busting out as a top 100 talk radio program in the nation on hundreds of radio stations. And again, welcome to Honolulu, Hawaii. It's great to have you with us. Love you guys. Hey, program directors down there, I'd be more than happy to come down and do a live broadcast. Just let me know. I'll be more than happy to swing your direction. Never been to Hawaii. Might have to make that happen. Guys, welcome back. You heard that rejoin. That's Attorneys on Retainer. I have my card right here in my hand. And you heard Mike talking. We prepare for certain things as gun owners. We prepare for the eventuality that we might have to use a firearm to defend ourselves, our families, our communities, maybe even our country. The way things are being pushed right now, that might be more of a reality than you think it is. But Attorneys on Retainer has your back, because when I carry my firearm, I also have a pocket full of attorneys, up to 4 of them. God forbid I have to use my firearm to defend myself. Attorneys for Freedom law firm is there in my pocket, and it is $37 a month. Use the promo code AAR, attorneysonretainer.us, attorneysonretainer.us/AAR, and put those attorneys to work for you. God forbid if you need them. It's not going to be something, well, I tell you what, I would hate to wake up and realize I could have done it, and I didn't when I needed it, and now I need a lawyer, and it's going to cost me thousands of dollars an hour instead of $37 a month. So please, please, please prepare for this and take advantage of it. That's why you carry a gun. You already get it, all right? Put the attorneys in your pocket. You can visit them and all of our great sponsors and our great partners over at armedamericanradio.com. All of them are available for you, including POGauctions.com. Mike, welcome back in. Let's talk a little bit about POG Auctions right now, because this auction closes out on the 24th. And this is one of those deals where we want people to go in and bid these things up, man, because this, every dollar, and correct me if I'm wrong, 100% of every dollar bill being raised in this auction is going to WTTA, is it not?
Yeah, that's correct. And Cheryl and Dan Todd down at POG have done a great job. We do this biannually. There's a lot of listeners probably right now saying, how does this guy get funded, right? And that's where everyone always gets suspicious. I am funded strictly from the firearms industry. So it's firearm manufacturers and people like Cheryl and Dan that actually like go out of their way to throw these types of events for me. The manufacturers that support the events with the product. I mean, it's something special, and it's been growing every time we do it. So, it helps us. It helps a good cause. And if you love the Second Amendment, you're going to love what Walk the Talk America does. So you're going to love this auction. So I think it's a place that you got to get there on Tuesday and put some bids in. There's some really unique products on there.
Yeah, and when you talk about the coming in from the firearms industry, you and I know many people in the firearms industry. We attend a lot of events together. I'm assuming I'm going to see you in Houston in just a few weeks, right?
Yes, sir. I will be there.
Well, you'll be sitting with me at the table. We'll be interviewing you on the Daily Defense, and we'll probably tape a few segments for you on the Sunday Monster Cast as well. So we're looking forward to that. And we will be likely talking about the next auction coming up that we'll be pushing for you. And when you're talking about getting donations from the firearms industry, you get some great products out there that the firearms industry donates. So these are great to bid on.
We get some good ones. I'm going to just rattle off a list here. We got Glock, Daria, NAA, Canic, Century, Ruger, Graham Power, Global Ordnance, Versa, Davidson's, SDS Arms, Diamondback, EAA, TriStar, High Point, Saber, Palmetto State Armory, Carr, Davidson's, Lipsy's, Chattanooga Shooting Sports Supply, Alien Gears, Holsters, BOG, the list goes on and on. So there's some really good stuff there that people can go check out and, get something unique and special.
Did I really hear that correctly? All of those wonderful manufacturers over there? Because, the other side always says that we don't care about suicides, that we want crime. We want suicides because we're nothing but evil. All we want to do is sell guns and sell guns and sell guns. And that couldn't be further from the truth. That's why WTTA exists. Why is it always our side that does this, that pushes safety and never gets any credit for this, Mike? That's an interesting question, isn't it?
It is, and I believe that once we solve that, I think we're in a great position. But that's what I love. Like the solutions coming from us, the expectation level from the outside world of us is like nothing. So when we go out there and we show this is what the gun industry is actually doing to address these issues, and we're doing it better than you. I mean, we could be the leaders in this space in the next couple of years, which is, no one would have ever thought that, 10 years ago. So I'm looking forward to the future with what Walk Talk America brings to behavioral health and research.
You've been there 7 years now? Am I right on my time?
Yep.
7 years?
Almost 8. Yeah, almost 8.
Yeah, I want to go back to something you said at the outset when we started talking. How many people don't call, right, that we are unaware of? We can talk about somebody that we've worked with at WTTA or that you've worked with personally at WTTA. We know we've done good things. It doesn't get coverage. We know. But how many people don't? And how do you address that? That's a tough one to answer because I'm asking you to almost like to just trying to prove a negative is hard to do. How do we know that and what's the solution?
Well, I think first of all, it's making people understand how complex that situation is. So I'll give you an example. I do a lot of speaking events at places that people would say like is hostile, right? But I always say like red flag laws in my world, they cause death. And people are always like, what is he talking about, right? And they always think cop shows up, they red flag the guy, he shoots back. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how many people have taken their own life because they were afraid to get help, and that red flag law caused that fear. So we got to study that. So the thought process is, I can see it when the gears start turning in someone's head. They're like, oh my God, I never thought about unintentional consequences of gun laws. I just thought you guys just want to arm everybody. You know what I mean? It's like, no, you got to think about it this way. And if you look at it from that perspective, I think it's the first step in getting someone to kind of open their mind to listen, especially when we provide our own solutions. Like if someone says, what's the alternative for red flag laws? And we tell them what we do, and we say, do you think this makes sense? Then it's a whole different conversation you're having with somebody.
Does anybody on the other side ever approach you? Interesting question, just popped up while I was listening to you. Because they never want to give us credit for anything. Never. They don't want to. Has anybody approached you maybe on the QT and said, hey, we'd like to team up with you. We just don't want to make it public?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
I do so much consulting for different groups, especially that just want to pick my brain on, when it comes to responsible storage, like that's pretty much, we all can agree upon that, right? Maybe sometimes people say something a little ridiculous that's not realistic to gun owners. But yeah, I mean, the consulting piece that we have, the advisement on literature and things like that, like people would be surprised how many people reach out. I mean, in the past, I've spoken at these, sometimes they've spoken at these events where they don't realize who I am, and they bring me up because they only kind of look at it from, it's like, I go up there and I represent the firearms industry. I make no bones about it, and I don't hide. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's kind of funny when people like realize, I'm like, yeah, you're either stealing our ideas or you're loving them,
Yeah. Oh, or they say to you more than likely, "Oh, you're that guy. You're that guy. I didn't know that you were actually that guy." Mike Sodini, you're doing God's work over there, brother, and I'm looking forward to seeing you. We'll bring you on air, of course. We'll have you on before we get to the NRA convention, but we'll bring you on from Media Row there in Houston as well. Mike Sodini, WTTA.org. You bet, Mike. We appreciate you being here very much. WTTA.org, ladies and gentlemen. And don't forget, POGauctions.com. POGauctions.com. This auction closes out, the latest one, on the 24th. Go there and find some really cool stuff to bid on and bid good. 100% goes to WTTA.org. When we come back, Guns and Gadgets, you know him, YouTube fame. Jared Yanis will be here for a half hour, followed by Neil McCabe. We'll be back at 6 after. Oh, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio, Hour 2 begins right now. Welcome inside the Car Firearms Group studios. With me, Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day on hundreds of radio stations around the nations on this Heavy 100, Talker's Top 100 radio broadcast in America. Very proud of that. It's an honor and a privilege. And you're in front of the CZ mic with me here at the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center. It's all brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Greg in Dallas, how you doing? Hour 2 is upon us. Buckle in, brother.
Yeah, first hour flew right by.
Ooh, it really did. It really did. We got a little bit late getting out of the box, too. Well, not late on the air, but late getting ready to go
behind
on
the
air,
scenes. Yeah,
behind the scenes. That happens from time to time. But nonetheless, we're here for you, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to watch the program, you can watch us on some social media platforms. A few thousand of you are doing that right now. Facebook.com/Armed American Radio. Facebook.com/Armed American Radio. Great to have you over there. You can also check us out at rumble.com. Rumble.com/Armed American Radio. Greg, you do your thing, and we'll get going with Jared Yanis, Guns and Gadgets. We got a pretty provocative story to go into here with him.
Yeah, sure. Other places to watch the show are going to be YouTube. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. You can watch us on X at AAR Mark. You can also head over to the website, armedamericanradio.org or .com. Hit that menu icon and select your watch live or listen live option. And lastly, if you'd like to join our live chat, all you have to do is download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
You'll get it out, Greg.
Yeah, I had a brain freeze there for some second.
You'll make it, brother. You'll make it. We're good to go.
Happens.
It does happen. You're going to make me start laughing here. Oh, good heavens. All right, Jared Yanis, Guns and Gadgets. Welcome in, brother. How are you doing, my friend? Always a pleasure here. You're looking good, baby. Looking good. No stranger to a camera, I can tell. How are you, man?
Good, man. A little sunburnt. Just got back from about 7 hours on the motorcycle. Just got back from vacation and ready to get after it.
Yeah, and while you were on vacation, sadly, you had to make a video I know you didn't want to make, and I know that because I watch all of your videos. And this is a good one. I followed up watching yours. I went over to Mark Smith's over at Four Boxes Diner, and I haven't yet reached out to Mark. I've known Mark a long time. But I think what we're getting ready to talk about here is disturbing on a number of different levels, as you pointed out so eloquently in the video, because this is the what administration? The most what administration?
Yeah, the most quote-unquote friendly, it was 2A friendly DOJ and administration in the history of the country, which is a very low bar, but that's what they claim.
Well, that is a low bar. I mean, if you look at who was in office prior to. But what we're going to talk about here, ladies and gentlemen, with Jared, is we're going to go back to bump stocks again. And Jared, honestly, I never thought we'd ever revisit this again, to be honest with you. I thought it was a done deal, didn't you?
Well, braces. Bump stocks is a done deal.
Braces. I'm sorry. I said bump stocks. I'm talking about pistol braces. I apologize. Yeah. We're talking about the pistol braces. And I thought this was a done deal because we had the Texas circuit wipe it out, literally wipe it out. But it's important that we put this in context, I think, in perspective for our listeners and viewers. And that is, guys, this was not codified. This was the Administrative Protection Act, okay? And what I'm talking about here is, if you go back to the pistol brace, it was a rule. Jared, explain that aspect of it for listeners as we get out of the box on this.
Sure. So typically the way things happen, in order to have a law, it must be passed by Congress, who are duly elected by their constituents. Well, sometimes we have administrations who can't get stuff passed through Congress, so they go to the bureaucratic route. And most presidents have done it for the last, 40, 50 years, but Joe Biden famously went after us, the gun owner, heavily via the ATF and the Department of Justice. And just one of those rules that he promulgated against us was the pistol brace rule. And what it basically said was, even though for 10 to 15 years prior, pistol braces were A-OK, that after that rule passed, there were going to be an SBR, no matter what you said or did. They were going to give you a little breadcrumb and give you a free time where you could register those, which they didn't have the ability to do because only IRS can suspend a tax. But they would then go into enforcing those if you had a pistol brace firearm, that it was an SBR. And if it wasn't registered, well, then you have an NFA violation, a decade in jail, and tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines. And good luck. Good luck getting your guns back and your rights back. No, we had some good news there. We had, most every major national gun group secured injunctions for their members, and then we had the rule itself vacated. Well, it's just that case just keeps going. It hasn't reached its final judgment yet. And in their most recent filing in Texas versus ATF, which was Gun Owners of America, Gun Owners Foundation, VCDL, Tennessee Firearms Association, Texas, and Utah, Mississippi, maybe one or two others, the DOJ, Pam Bondi, and the ATF, who's supposed to be on our side now, who are ordered by the president to get rid of all the Biden infringements, they're saying now that, A, they want this case tossed out and dismissed as moot because there's no criminal penalties in that rule, so they can still enforce the NFA and treat pistol-braced firearms as short-barreled rifles. It's in their 4-page response in this. It's troubling. It doesn't say that they're going to actually start enforcing that, but they're not going out saying, you know what, this is an illegal, unconstitutional move by the administration, and you know what, Your Honor, this is unconstitutional, we should wipe it from the books. No, they're actually saying, you know what, Your Honor, we can still book them because the NFA has all the criminal penalties, not that rule, and it's scary.
It is scary because are they asking us to trust that they're not going to do that? Now, when I went and watched Four Boxes Diner, guys, and I would recommend that you start with Jared's video over at Guns and Gadgets. He lays this out very well. And then follow up with Mark Smith over at Four Boxes Diner. That's why we wanted to bring Jared on to talk about this today, because there's a lot of nuance here. And I guess my question is, after I watched Mark didn't seem too concerned about it. And here's why he didn't seem concerned about it. Because it is moot, because we got everything we wanted in the first case. It was already adjudicated. We got it. It was wiped out. Now, the NFA still exists, is his point. He said, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just the messenger here. Congress has to act to wipe out the NFA. What the administration is doing is they have, if you look at Article 2 of the Constitution, which sets up the responsibilities of the executive branch, which includes the DOJ, as you know, Jared. They have a responsibility to uphold the law, and NFA is still law right now. So that begs the question. That's where the nuance comes in. Am I being asked to trust that they're just not going to follow through and charge me for having a pistol-braced rifle, that they're now going to go back, even though the APA has been wiped out and it has been rendered moot technically, which is what they're arguing? Are you following me, ladies and gentlemen? Are they now saying, just trust us, we're not going to do anything about it, but it is our responsibility to uphold the law? And could they be doing this as a way to push Congress to finally end the NFA? That seems to me they're asking me to put a lot of faith in government that, well, I don't have.
Yeah, well, technically they could do that. They are asking that. And Congress isn't going to jump because ATF thinks they're outsmarting Congress. They're not going to do that. They never have. Mark's great. He's an attorney. He knows how the law is applied in the courtroom session. I was a former cop. I know that there will be cops out there who will still book you on this because every unconstitutional gun control law is perpetrated by who? Law enforcement. So I know that if DOJ says we can enforce this, there's going to be some cop out there who thinks he has carte blanche to violate rules and laws again and violate rights. If I can, real quick, I've never given out a phone number on your show. Call this number, y'all. Get a pen. Write this down. 202-456-1111. 202-456-1111. That's the comment line at the White House. It's time to start putting pressure on the kingpin who told the DOJ to stop doing all this stuff. They're obviously not listening. Let's make him understand that, the midterms are hanging in the balance here, and we the people are really fed up with the unconstitutional stuff.
Yeah, and this shines a really negative light back on Bondi, which is somebody that doesn't need any more negativity shined on her right now. She's been relatively quiet on this front. Harmeet Dillon has responded personally to your videos. I know she's watching. I know they're listening. I know it for a fact. I've seen the retweets myself. So having said that, we're getting ready to take a break, Jared. When we come back, we'll get a little bit deeper into this. But ladies and gentlemen, I want you to think about this during the break, what we're talking about here. Do you have the faith in the government? Why is the Trump administration doing this? They've already put executive actions out that, I guess, Jared, you can shake your head on this one because of the break, that they said they were going to wipe out. Yeah, there's the head shake. That apparently they haven't? Or is Mark Smith right that they're just doing this because it is part of their responsibility at the DOJ under Article 2 while this is still technically on the books. And what does that mean for the new ATF head coming in? And how will that be responded to? Will he? There's a lot of questions here, ladies and gentlemen. We've got one more segment with Jared Yanis, Guns and Gadgets, over on YouTube. 777,000 subscribers. Let's make it 778. 778 today. We'll be back. Indeed. Welcome back to the show. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast well underway. Hour 2. We're talking with Jared Yanis. We'll get right back to Jared in just a second. You heard that NRA rejoin. We'll be at the National Rifle Association with you April 16th through the 20th, somewhere around that for the entire weekend. We'll be bringing you a lot of tape segments while we're there for this show. That Sunday, after we get back on that day, we'll be back live for you, but we'll run some tape segments for you. We'll be bringing the Daily Defense to you live from the floor of the National Rifle Association on Thursday and Friday that weekend, coming up April 16th and 17th, 18th on Saturday, taping, coming back the 19th for the Sunday show. And guys, you can also, if you're watching on your screens, you can see the Buy Blackout Coffee at blackoutcoffee.com/AAR, that promo code up there in the corner. You can also use that. Just don't do it while you're driving, please. Don't be that kid, okay? Don't do that. You can get it later. It's blackoutcoffee.com/AAR. But if you have an opportunity, you can go ahead and use that promo or that QR code up there and get you some Blackout Coffee. I told Greg in the first hour of the show, I started my day with a couple cups today. I do every single day. Blackout Coffee keeps me going every day, because I was up so early, about 2 o'clock this morning, and stayed there, and it was Blackout that kept me through the day. All right, guys, welcome back in. Let's go back now to Jared Yanis, Guns and Gadgets over at YouTube. You know him over there. If you're probably a subscriber. If you're not, you should be. So make sure to visit Guns and Gadgets and AAR. Subscribe to both and hit that little bell and get notifications, okay? It's very, very important. Jared is covering this information every single day for you in world-class videos. Jared, welcome back, brother. Great to have you here. So, I go back to this faith issue here again, and I think this is very important. And I don't have an answer for this. I was kicking this around in my head during the break. I don't like when a government says to me, just trust us, and that's essentially what they're doing. When they go through this process in court and they defend this, I understand the legal implication from Mark's video over at Four Boxes Diner. He's approaching it from that perspective, period. That this is set up in Article 2 of the Constitution. It's the DOJ's responsibility. Others have to get off their duffs. But that's almost like it's a wink and a nod. Don't worry about it. We're okay. How many people refound their pistol-braced rifles, okay, after that court decision in Texas a couple years back that vacated all of it? Do we have to lose our rifles again? What's going to happen with manufacturers now, Jared? This is a legitimate question. All those manufacturers that put it all back up because it was wiped out. What happens there? There's a lot of nuance here, brother.
Yeah, I mean, 250 years ago, our founders told us specifically, do not trust government, right? So in 2026, do not trust government. Mark's coming at it from the right angle, from the legal perspective. I understand that. But me, as a patriot, as someone who loves the Constitution, how hard would it be for them to actually just say, you know what, Your Honor, you're right. This is unconstitutional. Please rule that way. Please have it adjudicated that way finally, so that it doesn't leave any wiggle room for the next anti-gun administration to come and tweak it again. I don't know about you. I'm pretty sure we're in the same boat. I'm sick of just rules standing out there. Maybe they can go back to them. Maybe they can't. Let's just kill them now when we can. Let's have a victory, maybe, and end it.
Well, that's what needs to happen. It definitely needs to happen. You're going to have millions of people in limbo right now asking these questions. What do I do now? Am I in trouble? Now, are you aware of any cases? I'm not. That doesn't mean they're not out there. Are you aware of any cases where they're using this now? Has ATF, because one organization I don't trust at all that should be out, it's unconstitutional, and that's ATF. They need to go. Simple as that. Shouldn't even exist. Alcohol, tobacco, as a free man, if I want to drink and smoke, I'll do that. Why do I need an ATF agent? Firearms, that's written into the Constitution as my right. This is an organization that shouldn't even be there. The fact of the matter is, though, we can say that all day long. They are there, and we know we can't trust them. They've proven that. I don't care who is running the administration. We're talking bureaucrats here, Jared. Bureaucrats, not elected officials. This is very scary stuff.
There's been no changes, no new cases, so to speak. We're waiting to see how the judge responds to their request. I don't think they're going to go out and start booking people, but they did say, we can still do it because the NFA is the thing. The NFA is the problem. If you have a problem with the NFA, address that. But I will say, every single time any of these lawsuits challenging the NFA has been in court, Pam Bondi and her Department of Justice are defending the NFA. So they're not really trying to make it go away either. They're saying, look, Your Honor, we can get rid of it in court. The NFA is the problem. But on the other side of the coin, they're in the courtroom saying, oh, no, the NFA is a good thing. We need this because Commerce Clause and all these other things that we should be able to do that. Right, Your Honor? So I don't trust them. It's look, as grown Americans, we can do what we want. It's our right. You know, if you want to, you know, have a bureaucrat tell you what to do, then stay in tune with the way things are going on, which means you have to keep your head on a swivel every single day.
Jared, I should be able to buy whatever gun I want out of a vending machine. That's my position and has been forever as a law-abiding citizen. And you're right. The founders gave us a republic for this exact reason. I find it really difficult to believe that any of our founders would think, oh, okay, well, we know because we wrote Article 2. We get it. Yeah, they're just doing I get all that. I understand, but I don't think that they would buy into what we're talking about right here. I really do not believe that they would buy into that. All right.
No, there'd be a lot of tar and a lot of feathers, my friend.
Well, you know, I'm not even going to go there right now. Maybe we should bring that back. That might wake a lot of people up. Federal Appeals Court seems skeptical of reciprocity agreement. Here's something else that people like you and I have been fighting for a long time, and that's national reciprocity. Now we're looking at 29 states, hopefully 30. There's even a push in Michigan right now. We couldn't get North Carolina off their duff to become number 30, and that's constitutional carry, ladies and gentlemen. Cam Edwards wrote over at Bearing Arms that a 3-judge panel on the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals appears to be skeptical of the arguments used by an over-the-road truck driver challenging Minnesota's refusal to recognize his Florida and Georgia carry permits. So what we have here is really interesting, Jared. You've got a truck driver who was traveling through the state in Minnesota. And the judges on the panel all seem to be asking the same question. Well, wait a minute. Minnesota's permit law is in place. Nobody's saying anything about that. Are you telling me that someone traveling through the state should have more rights under Minnesota law than someone who has to have a permit? In other words, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a truck driver out there, and many of you are, I know you're driving across the country now, you know I spent 20 plus years in that business. I never met a driver that didn't carry. So pay very careful attention, guys, to this. This is very important, and girls. This is very, very important. Because if you're driving through a state in Minnesota, what is seemingly happening here is the judges on this panel are saying, well, who cares if they have to jump through hoops? That's Minnesota law. If they know they're going to be driving through Minnesota, they got to get a non-resident permit, which, as you know more than anybody else, because we've talked about it on this program, takes tons of time and many thousands of dollars. 30 seconds, take it away, man. This is bad news, brother.
Yeah, it's bad news. There are a couple states where people don't have a legal avenue for a non-resident permit. Hawaii one and Illinois, unless you live in 6 magic states, but the rest of the country can't. What's interesting, the way these judges came about it, what they didn't say is that specifically over-the-road truckers, their truck is their home, and you don't need a permit to have a gun in your home. So maybe we should look at that type of an attack on this. But, you know, what these judges are saying is an unconstitutional infringement. When we had the beginning of the country, was there any of this stuff? No, there wasn't. It fails brewing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Paul Revere didn't need a permit, buddy, on his ride. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Funny how we've gone from, I got my permit, to, man, I don't need no stinking permit. We had to go through Biden to get back to Trump. That's kind of where we are here. Jared, I love you. Thanks for being here, brother. Guys, we'll be back with Neil McCabe, Real America's Voice, right after this. Back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast continues here at the bottom of hour 2. We are flying right along. As I tell you all the time, buckle in. It flies right by. Okay, just buckle in. I know we've got Neil McCabe. I can see him on camera here, but we need him to call in. Neil, if you can, I need you to call that line while you are on camera as well, so we can get your audio in here for us. If you can call in, that would be great. We need you to do that right away. Guys, having this conversation with Jared in the previous 2 segments, when we got to talking about that today, Greg, I don't know about you, but is the administration, this is a legitimate question. We're going to bring this up in the roundtable as well. Are they asking you to trust them, Greg? Is that what the Trump administration is asking us to do, to trust them?
Yeah, it seems that way, but they're not giving us any reason to trust them.
Okay, I could go a lot of different directions here. All right, I would absolutely rather have Pam Bondi than any selection from Kamala Harris. I would rather have Trump in office than Joe Biden or any Democrat whatsoever. But this kind of stuff disturbs me from what, and Jared made it point, you put the air quotes around it, the single most pro-gun administration in American history, and we can argue that that is true all day long. And I don't understand why they can, and I don't have the answer to this. That's why I defer over to Mark Smith at Four Boxes Diner. It's why we talked to Jared about this, to try to bring this to the forefront, because I'm not interested in trusting anybody in government. I don't care if their last name's Trump, Bondi, Dillon. I don't care who it is.
Well, I think the problem is you keep referring back to as if Kamala had won, but that's not the reference you should go back to. Trump won. We should go back to Trump nominating an actual good attorney general versus just a essentially conservative DEI pick, because there was a lot of questions of what women was he going to nominate into his cabinet. Well, the ones he has nominated hasn't turned out so well. And we should have had somebody in there that had a pair, that's willing to arrest former presidents like they were, and willing to arrest Congress members, and willing to arrest
like
big name people. Yeah, all of these things they were willing to do, but but the Republicans somehow are not willing to do it. They either have no spine, they have no guts, or they have a combination of 3 where they don't have a pair as well. And we need to see some kind of action coming from them, because we're not getting anything really. I voted for Trump and for all the Republicans for vengeance, and I'm not getting it, and I'm really disappointed.
Yeah, guys, if you don't believe what Greg is telling you about, like they would do, all you've got to do is go back and listen to Armed American Radio on it was Thursday or Friday's broadcast, Greg, when we were talking about Waltz and the comments that he was making about arresting Trump administration officials.
Yep.
And you need look no further than Susan Rice and the very disturbing comments that she made. And you need look no further than read tweets every single day, X post, formerly known as Twitter, whatever you want to call it, from Chris Murphy, who's out there every single day saying the same thing. Every single day. Their hatred of Donald Trump and anything to do with him, including any person, knows no bounds. None.
Well, what we're also overlooking is the SAVE Act has proven exactly just how weak and how establishment the current swamp monsters are that Trump has nominated or have been nominated to high positions. John Thune, for example, I watched him speak Friday, and everything that he was saying was, well, I can't get the 60 votes because that's the highest threshold, but he's not willing to put any pain on the Democrats to make them enforce a standing filibuster. And knowing that JD can be the tiebreaker, because we'll get at least one SAVE Act vote from a Democrat. John Fetterman said he would. And we are not seeing any kind of action. So essentially, John Thune has been mimicking and parroting only establishment lines, only things that people that have lived in government too long would say, instead of what we voted for, which was action and was the rules be damned sometimes, because that's how the Democrats are going to govern.
The Democrats have made it clear, and Carville is talking about this almost every single day. And that nuking the filibuster is a very real possibility from the Democrats. Trump is very well aware of that and has mentioned it before. I don't have a problem with it. If you tell me that the Democrats are going to nuke the filibuster if they take something in the midterms, if they take the Senate back, they're going to nuke the filibuster. He's got to be out there. He's got to be on the forefront. He has to be on the forefront of that so that we can codify everything instead of executive action.
Well, the
that
problem
has
is,
to happen, and it's going to be a very busy, if we lose that, it's going to be a very busy lame duck session for those 2 months. But the Senate is going to have to act, brother.
well, Trump has been out there. He's said it since his campaign. And the problem is we've got a Mitt Romney-esque John Thune, a Mike Pence-esque Indiana Republican who's essentially just a rhino running the Senate. And, I thought J.D. Vance, as vice president, one of his duties is to be the president of the Senate. Well, guess what, J.D. Vance? This is your time to lean on somebody. And you should be doing it. And I don't see him doing a single thing. And since they announced that J.D. Vance is now the fraud czar, what law enforcement action does J.D. Vance have underneath him as vice president over the Senate?
Well, there's a lot happening here.
There's so much happening that there's
a lot of it that we're not aware of, but we had better start seeing. Which again, we go back to talk about Bondi for a moment. I'm not going to sit here and beat up on Bondi any more than we did. Bondi's your attorney general right now. It's the way it is. She's not going anywhere. And I understand, like I said before, where Mark Smith is coming from the legal aspect of why the DOJ does what it does in some of these cases. Now, there might be some nuance behind these legal decisions that we're very well unaware of. Okay? I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be one on TV. I'll defer that to constitutional attorneys who are licensed to practice at the Supreme Court, like Mark Smith. We'll bring him to the program and we'll talk about this. He did not seem concerned. Now, I know Mark very well. There's a level of comfort there when somebody like Mark Smith is not that concerned in my world.
Yeah.
There's a level of comfort. I didn't say it's comforting. I said there's a level of comfort there, okay?
Look, he's a YouTuber and a podcaster. I mean, that's about all I see him as. Yeah, he commentates from his legal background, but outside of that, he's just a speculator just like anybody else.
Yeah, he is as a speculator, but he comes at it from a position of knowledge that we don't have, and he does argue a lot of these cases. He's up on the law. He's award-winning at what he does, and I have great respect for him. But I do not share his sentiment in this that we shouldn't be concerned that there's no there. I believe there's a there. Ask me what it is. I can't put my finger on it. If I had to put something down on it, I'd say I'm being asked to trust government, and I will never do that. I don't care who's in office. I don't want to do that, particularly when it comes to bureaucrats, because that's what we're talking about here with an ATF. You really think we're going to trust the ATF after what we've seen them do? You don't think the ATF, look, if you're an ATF agent out there, I've told you this before, I don't know how you sleep at night. I don't know how you look your kids in the face, particularly if you participated in the nonsense in the Biden administration. I don't have any respect there whatsoever. I don't want to hear I'm just doing my job. It's what I'm being told to do. Find another job. There's a lot of great organizations out there across the country that are looking for good cops. If you're a good cop, get out and go get another job. Don't come after law-abiding citizens and give me that garbage nonsense crapola that you're simply doing your job. I don't trust you. You have proven that you can't be trusted, and I'm not going to trust you. I'm not going to trust any bureaucrat when it comes to constitutional rights whatsoever. Guys, we're taking a break. I can see Neil in there. When we come back, we'll have Neil on the phones with us as well, and hopefully have him on camera for you if you're watching the show also. But I think overall that's just good advice, ladies and gentlemen. Never trust the government. And Jared was right in the previous segments. Founders knew that. That's why they gave us a republic, a constitutional republic. That's why the Democrats want to call it a democracy and not a constitutional republic. More gaslighting from the other side that hates your rights and hates your freedoms. When we come back, Neil McCabe, Real America's Voice. And, well, outly, one more segment left in hour two, and then we're heading into a classic Armed American Radio roundtable with Brad, Justin, and Ryan Petty. Back right after this, guys, at 48 after.
Other people didn't.
Right.
They went around. They basically went around Susie Wiles, who's the chief of staff, and got Trump to nominate Matt Gaetz. So there were people who are offended by that inside the Trump team who basically coordinated with Senate Democrats and other Republicans to kneecap Gaetz. And in that situation, somebody made a phone call to the Senate leadership and said, if we put up Pam Bondi, will you grease the skids so that she goes through and we can sort of move on from this political hoo-ha-ha, which was really, if you remember, it was really jamming up, what was supposedly Trump's momentum coming out of the election. And so Todd Blanche was made the deputy attorney general.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it stands right now is that as long as Pam Bondi is the attorney general, Todd Blanche, who has convinced people in the White House he's the only he is the essential man who can run the Justice Department regardless of what Pam
got to go
to. And so as long as Pam Bondi's there, Todd Blanche is there, and Pam Bondi's not going anywhere because Bondi's popular in Florida. She has a history with Trump and other people in the White House. And the feeling is she does decent television. She does decent Senate testimony. And then Todd Blanche is running the Justice Department anyway. And of course, Blanche and his staff are basically making sure that none of the MAGA agenda items get taken care of, which is why the pardons for the alternate electors had to be done through the, basically behind his back, by the, basically the screw ups, freeing Tina Peters. A number of things have been blocked by either Blanche or his staff. And, who knows what their motivation is. A lot of those people are donor kids. They're not, whereas if it was a Democratic administration, they would be putting in killers who are trying to get stuff done. But in a Republican administration, oftentimes you're putting in the children of donors.
Well, when we have a situation like what's going on right now down in Texas with GOA, Mississippi, Alabama, and a number of other plaintiffs, including the state of Texas, on that stupid pistol brace rule, which is rearing its head again after the rule was already wiped out in court. Here we are revisiting this 2 years down the road. And it's Bondi's DOJ. Well, let's be real. It's Trump's DOJ that is defending this in court. And, I was talking about Mark Smith on Four Boxes Diner, and I understand, being pragmatic. I get that. I understand why they do it. Article 2 of the Constitution, so forth. Congress has to make a move to wipe out the NFA as long as it's there. The argument is that it's their responsibility to enforce the law, but it's almost like a wink and a nod. Neil, I don't trust government, and I don't want to trust government. Can I trust Pam Bondi? Should I have to?
Well, the U.S. attorneys are the U.S. attorneys work for Todd Blanche the way it works organizationally. So what part is it? A U.S. attorney? I'm sorry, I'm not tracking. Who is the prosecutor who is moving forward on this? Is it from the Civil Rights Department? If it comes from something on like the fifth floor, right? That's a direct report to Pam Bondi and her chief of staff. But if it's a U.S. attorney, then that's a direct report to Todd Blanche. So who is actually pushing
Texas,
the prosecution?
Right now, you've got the DOJ defending the National Firearms Act in court. And that's Bondi's DOJ, Trump's DOJ. So it goes right back to Bondi. And I don't want to catch you off guard with all this stuff. There's a little bit too much nuance there.
No.
The overall question,
someone in court.
The overall question I'm asking is, they're saying almost with a wink and a nod here, don't worry. The Procedures Act already wiped out that. It's a moot point. But we still have to defend the NFA while it exists. It's almost as if it's a wink to say to Congress, look, Congress has to wipe out the NFA, which is true. But now, by virtue of what they're saying at the DOJ, that allows the ATF to continue to enforce a rule that's already been wiped out because the NFA is still in place. It's a mess. And this is the same DOJ and Trump administration that said, no, we're not going to do this. We're our DOJ. We're going to wipe out these laws. And here they are defending them. It's like I said, it's just a mess. Go ahead.
Well, again, just to close this out, then it is not uncommon for DOJ to stop prosecutions on a case that is against the politics and agenda of an administration. And so, you know, Obama and Biden had different laws about protecting the border or immigration, and they literally just blew them off. And it's all a matter of priorities. And so
officer discretion is what I'm hearing from you, Neil. It's officer discretion.
And so it's prosecutorial discretion. And frankly, the President of the United States can pardon anybody who's convicted. The President of the United States, so anyway, that's the way it works.
Stop resisting. I'm going to arrest you for resisting. I'm going to arrest you for obstruction. I don't trust any of them. Neil, I'm sorry we didn't have you in that first segment, but we'll get that taken care of this week. We'll have Neil back on camera, ready to rock and roll for you on Sunday. Neil, thank you for sticking around. I do appreciate it very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the great Neil McCabe, longtime contributor to the program. He's a reporter there in Washington, D.C. at the White House with Real America's Voice. When we come back from this break, we've got a classic Armed American Radio roundtable. I see Ryan Petty on board already. We'll have Brad Primo and, of course, the CEO of Carr Firearms Group. That's Justin Moon. He will be here. All of them will be here. The roundtable's always fun, so make sure to buckle in. The hours are flying right by today, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio continues again at 6 minutes after the hour. Don't go away. We'll be back on the flip side. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome in Armed American Radio's I say daily defense, Greg.
Almost.
It is almost daily defense, right? It's wishful thinking. We're excited about tomorrow's show already. A step ahead of myself. Welcome inside the Car Firearms Group studios with me, Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day. Tomorrow on the Daily Defense, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, will be here. Andy Hoosier, the voice of Liaison, will be here as he always is on a Monday. Looking forward to starting your work week with you there. Guys, we're here in the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center. This is a Patriot Mobile phone, by the way. You can do the same thing, patriotmobile.com/AAR, and check it out. And get one for yourself and support a business that supports your gun rights that will have a booth at the NRA convention. I guarantee you AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon will not. Patriot Mobile will, because they openly support your right to keep and bear arms. Go back and listen to my interview with Scott Coburn last week from Patriot Mobile, the Chief Marketing Officer. They are the real deal, ladies and gentlemen, at Patriot Mobile. All right, Greg, here we go. Car Firearms Studios lit up for everybody. Who came in first? Oh, before we wait, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. Facebook.com/Armed American Radio, Facebook.com/Armed American Radio, and you can also watch us over on Rumble, Rumble.com/Armed American Radio. Go for it, Greg, and then we'll get cracking.
Yeah, you can also watch us on YouTube at Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. You can watch us over on X at AAR Mark. You can head over to the website, armedamericanradio.org or .com. Hit that menu icon. Then select your watch live or listen live option. And lastly, if you'd like to get into our live chats, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Yeah, that'll do it. All right, let's start. I got Ryan Petty up on the cameras here for you guys. Ryan Petty down in beautiful Florida. How you doing, my friend? How are you today? Is that... Are you somewhere? What am I looking at behind you?
This ain't Florida, Mark.
Are you in Vegas?
You know what? I'm in Vegas, brother.
Oh, that's the sphere behind you, I see. That's not a fake backdrop.
It is. I thought this would be a great live shot for tonight.
Now, that's pretty cool. So there you go. Ryan Petty is coming to us live from Las Vegas. I had no idea you were going to be there, but I'm glad you could make it in. Ryan Petty. Let's go to Brad Primo, CEO. Lead Slingers Whiskey, former law enforcement official, law enforcement officer, and American combat vet and true hero. Brad, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, Mark. How are you?
Well, I'm hanging in there, man. I am hanging in there. Justin Moon, CEO of Car Arms. We're in the Car Firearms Group studios. Justin, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. Looking forward to seeing you in about 3 weeks at the National Rifle Association annual meetings. We'll go there in just a little bit. Guys, yeah, let's continue the chat on Iran briefly before I take you. I've got to take you over to a federal appeals court in Minnesota. There's a fascinating case up there relative to national reciprocity, and this has a lot of legs. We'll go there, and I also want to talk with you about Bondi as well and some other things going on with the pistol braces and get your take on all this nonsense. But, Justin, I just introduced you. Let's start with you. Your concern over Iran still mounting?
I think the popularity of the Iran war was the highest it's going to be right at the beginning, and that was barely above 50%, and it's been declining ever since. The only people who support it are the Republican Party members. Independents are against it. Democrats are against it. The longer this war stretches, the more difficult it is going to be for us to win the midterms.
That's it. I knew you were going to go to the midterms. No question about it. That is going to be an issue. And I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, if your IRA or 401k is doing what mine is doing, you're feeling it as well. Ryan Petty, your thoughts on that subject, my friend from Vegas.
Look, I'll tell you, Justin's focused on the right thing. We've got to keep Congress, and so the midterms are everything. I frankly think we've got plenty of time to bring this to a conclusion and get the independents over the hump here. But it's got to go well. We've got to have no more casualties. The stock market's got to reverse, and gas prices have to come down, or things could be interesting in November.
Brad, I agree with you, Ryan. Believe me, particularly the market. There are some good deals out there right now, but good heavens, man, come on. You take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and sometimes, depending on those numbers, you take a lot more than 1 step back sometimes. It's ridiculous. But it's all tied together. Brad Primo, you fought for this country. You bring a perspective here to what you're seeing in the Middle East, better than any of us. I'd like your thoughts on this now that we're another week in.
Yeah, I mean, as far as midterms go, I mean, I definitely understand the concern. But I think the main thing to remember is now until November is an eternity. When you're talking about politics or the news, the midterm election cycle really isn't even going to get started until after the summer. And I'd be shocked if this is still going on by then. But, all that being said, what we got to think about and remember is we're actually being very successful right now in what we're doing in this operation. We're being very methodical. I think that people are a little bit nervous about the Strait, but at the same time, we have to remember, and the president's right. The Strait of Hormuz is not our problem. We don't get our oil from there. A lot of people mistakenly believe we get a bunch of oil from there, and we don't. And so it's not really our problem. We're going to take care of it. We're starting to take care of it right now, but that explains why, forcing the Strait open has been obviously fairly, a little bit further down on our list of priorities. These commanders, that are out there, running this operation, they have daily allocations of strike missions, ordnance, things like that, and they have to prioritize what they hit. Well, you know what? If we were Europe or if we were China, the Strait of Hormuz would be number one on the list because that's where all their energy comes from. For us, it's not. And so we're still hitting targets deeper in Iran. We're still hitting regime-related targets, security apparatus targets, things that we value. We're starting to work the Strait a little bit, but that's really not our priority right now, and I understand why. We just got to give this thing time. The regime is probably going to collapse, in my estimation. These things, they tend to, you see nothing going on, and then everything happens all at once.
Well, Baghdad Bob moved to Tehran because they say they're winning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, like I posted in the group chat, it's like the Black Knight from Monty Python, right? It's just a flesh wound. He's got no arms or legs left.
No, this is more than a flesh wound. And Justin, I know you know this as well as anybody here, but when you're gauging, and I don't mean you specifically, I'm talking in generalities here. When people gauge what they see based on only what they see and hear from mainstream media, we know it's a load of crap. And Trump has, as I'm sure you're aware, made a 48-hour, gave Iran a 48-hour ultimatum to open the Strait or else. And I have a gut feeling he's going to follow through with that, Justin. Do you believe that he will?
Yeah, I think judging from Trump's personality, he is likely to escalate, but I'm afraid the escalation will be met by an equally harsh escalation on the Iranian side. And that's going to be disastrous for international oil markets.
There's no question about that. You're going to see, in some reports are talking oil $200 a barrel. I don't know. That's above my pay grade. But watching the markets is not above my pay grade, and it's devastating a lot of people right now. But guys, if you can, there are some great buys out there. I'm not going to give you advice on that. Ryan, are you concerned on Trump's ultimatum at the 48 hours? And Brad, I'll come back to you on that one as well before we move on to another topic in the next segment. Ryan, go ahead.
No, I think Trump means what he says. I think at this point, world leaders, including the whoever is in charge over there at this point, Stumpy, I can't remember what his name is. He's definitely going to take what Trump says seriously. You know, the other dynamic that I heard is happening this week, which is really, really interesting to me, is Zelensky from Ukraine came in and said, hey, we've got these $20,000 drones. We've been taking out these Iranian drones with these much less expensive drones. It's going to completely change the dynamic over there if we accept that help, and I believe Trump will. All of a sudden, we're not shooting down a $50,000 drone with a $2 million missile. We're shooting $50,000 drone down with a $20,000 drone. So that could completely change the game as far as Iran's ability to fight back, as they've been doing with mostly drones, right? Well, they've done some missile attacks too, but it's going to leave them. It's going to change the economics of this battle significantly. So I'm interested to see how that plays out over the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, we're getting ready to take a break. When we come back, Brad, I do want to throw it back over to you before I move to Minnesota on a gun-related issue. But Brad, I'll just give you a heads up. We really need Zelensky's help, number one. And number two, well, we're getting ready to take a break. So when we come back, I'll hit it with you. When we come back, I'm going to get cut off here in just a second. I don't like thinking we need Zelensky's help for anything when he's begging for our help. But nonetheless, we live in an upside-down world, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Monstercast will continue. We'll go back to Brad Primo with a couple military questions quickly, and then we're going to take you to Minnesota, then to Kentucky, and to about 8 other states. And we'll tell you about a Georgia law that just passed out of the House when we come back. Don't go away. Hey, guys. So I just finally had a chance to look at some of the comments in here. It's been a day, I can tell you that much. David Heine says, you never knows if it's live.
Close
We're
to
live
close.
every Sunday from 8 to 11 p.m., Boss Man, 5 to 8 p.m.
And
Pacific. And
30.
Mondays through Fridays, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. So you're watching us live. Absolutely. And Zach says, Zach Jones just came to say, nice hat and PRS. Thanks, bud. I'm going to be playing a new ES335 as soon as we get off the air and maybe rip that S2 behind me. Great to see somebody that loves their guitars. Yes, sirree. Yes, sirree. Got a new shirt coming today that says, I have too many guitars. Said no one ever. Ordered that one today. Coming back right now, guys. Coming back right now. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Armed American Radio's Monstercast continues. Segment 2 in a classic Armed American Roundtable. I forgot, what's the name of the show, Greg? Armed American Radio Roundtable. Yeah, oh, good heavens. I see Ryan Petty laughing on screen there. Welcome back, Ryan. Guys, National Rifle Association, you heard Justin Davis in the first hour of the program doing great work at the NRA, and they are poised, if you live in Virginia in particular. They're everywhere across the country in courtrooms right now, working in conjunction with other outfits as well at this new NRA, but they are poised and ready to roll as the tip of the spear, based in Virginia, to fight on your behalf. I'm not going to say if Spanberger signs those bills. She's going to sign those bills, and when she does, the National Rifle Association, as you heard from Justin Davis, has the lawsuits ready to rock and roll. We're just waiting for her to make a move. Could she possibly toss one out just to make it look like she's being moderate? Yeah, she could, but she's not going to. She ran on it. She's going to sign them. And if you live in Virginia, you're screwed. And the National Rifle Association is there to help. So if you are not a member, ask yourself why. We need you in this fight right now more than ever, not just in Virginia, but across the country, because we're going to talk about some more nonsense coming up. And if you live in a red state, well, times can be good for you relative to the Second Amendment. We'll be talking about that in just a moment as well. But if you live behind the blue wall, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Brad Primo, let's go to you real quick. Just one quick military question for you. Do we need Zelensky's help right now, Brad Primo? Do we really need Zelensky's help right now?
I mean, do we need it? No, we don't need anybody's help. I mean, need is a pretty strong word. But you know what? I'm going to throw this out there, though. You know, the Iranians basically gave the Russians drone technology the Russians didn't even have, right? The Russians were so far behind the curve on drone warfare that, they were getting just absolutely eaten alive by the Ukrainians, and the Iranians came and bailed their butts out because, scumbags hang together.
Yeah.
And so the Ukrainians have learned an awful lot about combating Iranian drones and Iranian technologies and probably Iranian tactics that come with those drones. So, utilizing what the Ukrainians have learned in some of their equipment, I got no problem with that. That's what smart people do. You learn from others' mistakes. You learn from others' success. I mean, we're flying. One of our weapons we use against the Iranians is a copy of the same drone the Iranians sent to the Russians. Mm-hmm. It's cheap and it's effective. So why not do it? So if Zelensky has something to offer us, yeah, why not? You know what? We don't need it, but if it works, then that's a good idea. Look, Mark, we've got some exotic things that we've not unveiled and used in this operation. Now, I don't think we're going to use them until we actually put boots on the ground, if we put boots on the ground. We don't need $20,000 drones from Zelensky, but you know what? I like the idea of keeping our newest and best stuff under wraps because everybody's watching.
Yeah.
The Chinese will learn a lot. If we start bringing out our hottest stuff, the hottest and newest stuff, the Chinese are going to learn. They're going to start adjusting to it. The Russians will try to learn. They're probably incapable of adjusting to it, but they're still going to look at it. So, you know what? Why tip our hand if we can just spend $20,000 with the Ukrainians and start knocking drones out with those things? That's how I see it.
I mean, you're right about the Chinese. There's no question about it. Look at what they've done with the knockoffs. And Zach Jones, who's in the chat, is going to understand this one. They make a Gibson guitar, fake Gibson guitar, and they do a pretty damn good job of it. Ryan Petty is shaking his head over there and smiling. I mean, yeah, they are going to learn. We don't want to give them too much information. There's no doubt about it. But Justin, let me go to you. I'm going to flip gears here and go to Minnesota with you, everybody. Now, this is a really interesting deal here. There's a federal appeals court in Minnesota that is hearing a case of a truck driver, Justin, who was carrying a firearm, does not have a reciprocal permit in the state of Minnesota. Now, this is fascinating for a number of different reasons. A 3-judge panel on the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, I'm quoting from Cam Edwards at bearingarms.com on this, who covered this extensively, appears to be skeptical of the arguments used by this over-the-road trucker who is challenging Minnesota's refusal to recognize his Florida and Georgia carry permits. So he didn't get in any trouble, but he has a Florida and Georgia carry permit, and it is not reciprocal. Apparently, he drives through Minnesota. He can't lawfully carry his firearm. So during oral arguments on Wednesday this past week, at least 2 of the 3 judges on the panel seemed to have a hard time with his contention that requiring him to get a non-resident permit before he can carry in Minnesota is an unreasonable burden on his Second Amendment rights. Take a listen to this from Courthouse News, guys, and I quote from Courthouse News. If Minnesota can require all of its residents to get a permit, why would it violate the Second Amendment by requiring others to? That was from U.S. Circuit Judge Stephen Gratz, a Donald Trump appointee. U.S. Circuit Judge Ralph Erickson agreed, piling on to the questioning, asking Johnson's attorney, Ryan Morrison, is it your position that having conceded that the Minnesota permitting process is appropriate for Minnesota residents, that Minnesota must enact a statute that allows reciprocity or else they're in violation of the Second Amendment? And he asked, continuing, do you have a case that says that anywhere in the world? He was a George Bush appointee, continued with his concern about Morrison's argument, finding it absurd that those outside of Minnesota shouldn't be held to the same standard as residents. So you have greater rights as a non-resident than as a resident? It just says if you want to go into Minnesota, you just got to follow the Minnesota permitting process. Justin, as you know, here's the problem. That takes travel, time, and a boat crapload of money to do. Now, should we even have the permit to begin with, and does his Second Amendment right stop at Minnesota, even though Minnesota requires a permit, is not constitutional carry, but he's constitutional carry where he is and can no longer defend his life in Minnesota because of their laws? Interesting stuff. Justin.
Yeah, I mean, those are very interesting questions. I mean, from our point of view, we, of course, believe that the Second Amendment should not stop at a state border, and we believe that all states are covered by the Second Amendment. So I would kind of side with the truck driver and say, that's bunk, that Minnesota law should go, and we should be able to carry our guns anywhere in the country that we want to.
Yeah, and it gets even better, Ryan Petty. There is, and some of the judges did acknowledge, a national tradition. Now we're going into Bruin here, guys, okay? Where what was in place at the time of the founding, is this in line? Take a listen to this. Exempting travelers, quote unquote, from carry restrictions that states impose on residents that dates back to at least the late 1600s. The historical tradition of these travelers' exception laws is not some outlier, but overwhelmingly to the point that it justifies this court summarily reversing the decision below. It is especially relevant here, given the petitioner was arrested while driving through the state. So he was arrested. Guys, forgive me, I misspoke. He was arrested. He wasn't just challenging it, he was arrested. This tradition began in the colonial area. I'll take this to the break, and then Ryan will come to you with this and then flip it over to Brad. In 1686, the province of East Jersey prohibited, quote, privately wearing various weapons, but exempted all strangers traveling upon their lawful occasions through this province, behaving themselves peaceably. An 1813 Kentucky law was perhaps the earliest post-founding example, prohibiting the concealed carry of certain weapons unless when traveling on a journey. An 1820 Indiana law was similar, limiting its concealed carry ban by stating, quote, it shall not be so construed as to affect travelers. Ryan, when we come back, I'll go to you, and then Brad, and then toss it back over to Justin. Fascinating questions, very interesting case. Back with the guys on the roundtable right after the break. Yeah, guys, welcome back to the show. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom today and every day. We are in the Car Firearms Group studios with you on the Monster Cast, being heard on hundreds of radio stations across the nation. It's great to be with you. Blackoutcoffee.com. I already told Greg I started my day with 2 cups of Blackout today. Jared Yanis, the principal over at the company, is a great guy. And guys, they have really good coffee over there. They really do. My wife is drinking more of it than I am right now, so we run out of it quite a bit. I'm having to double up on the orders. But it's strong coffee, and by that I don't mean... You know, they have the extra caffeinated stuff if that's your bag, if that floats your boat. I don't need that much caffeine. I guess if I'm drinking 2 or 3 cups, might as well just make 1 big strong cup. But it's good, strong, robust coffee over there. Every single bag I've tried. I haven't tried the flavored coffee bags yet. But I've tried the whole bean and I've tried the ground coffee, and it's all fantastic. And it's blackoutcoffee.com/AAR. Support the businesses that support your favorite radio program. It's why we're here. Make sure to visit us also at the National Rifle Association annual meetings coming up in about 3 weeks in Houston. I see some in the chat are saying can't wait to get over to you in the chat. The Conservative Talk mentioned that in there. Guys, looking forward to seeing you there. Check out all of our great partners, including POG Auctions, POGauctions.com, POGauctions.com. And don't forget, if you want to get a chance, one Armed American Radio listener is going to win a Ruger Precision Rifle package valued at about $2,200 to $2,500, and you can get in on that by helping us grow at the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms at ccrkba.org/AAR. You can donate as little as $17.76. There's buttons for bigger amounts if you choose to do that. You do not have to donate, and you can still put your name on that list. We would hope that you would support us because we need your help. It's how we continue to grow and fight behind the scenes. It's ccrkba.org/AAR. Don't forget our online retail or exclusive. That's budsgunshop.com, Crossbreed.
Well, Mark, if you can hear me, it sounds like we've lost audio from you. I don't know if you've clicked on something on that end or not.
There we go. We're back.
There we go. All right.
Oh, well, looks like we're having a problem with our microphone here, but we'll fix that real quick for you.
Yeah, sometimes cables in the middle of a broadcast.
Yeah, is that what that is? A cable in the middle of a broadcast?
So.
Right, we'll tighten that up for you. There we go. Yeah, there was a time I would have panicked like crazy on the air when something like that happened. Now you know what it is. Like, well, I just can't hear anything. I know Greg will jump in my ear. There's that movie. Let's bring Ryan Petty back up on stage. Ryan, do you remember the movie Days of Thunder?
That's one movie to be honest, I haven't seen.
Oh, no, how dare you.
All right,
okay, so we're hanging up on Ryan
him,
Petty.
Brad Primo. Forget you, right? No, I'm just kidding. There's a scene in that movie where Tom Cruise is in a wreck and he's laying on the hospital on the table, and he says he can't see, and he makes the comment. He says, and he can't hear. He says, there's always somebody in my ear that's always telling me what to do. Well, that's my Greg. Okay, his spotter is my Greg. So Greg had me there. I appreciate it. Ryan, back to you on this very interesting case being heard in Minnesota. The traveler exemption here, let me put this in modern perspective. There was a time about 2 years ago, I was asked to take the AAR vet up to New Hampshire for a SIG event and put it on display up there with the AAR logos and all. And I chose not to do that. Number one, I didn't want to drive the mileage up, and I really didn't want to pay to have it moved up there on a truck bed. But more than any of that was I don't want to drive a Georgia plate with an Armed American Radio logo and a Second Amendment-related tag on it through Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts to get myself up to New Hampshire. I just didn't have I had no desire to do that whatsoever. And here's where there's a correlation. Because they will stop you if you stop and have a gun in your vehicle, you can be charged with a crime. We all know what happens if you travel through those states and try to check a bag. If you get diverted for your flight, whatever it may be, and maybe your luggage gets picked up because of weather, whatever the case may be, and you go to check your bag back in the next day, they arrest you up there. But there's federal law that says you have a right to travel through those states as long as your firearm is lawful where you originate and where your destination is. But the Democrat states don't care. So I find this travel deal, particularly as it relates to truckers, fascinating, because I absolutely agree with Justin on this. Just because you don't live in that state doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to carry a firearm. If you don't like the laws in your state, move out. But just because you live there and have to get a permit doesn't mean I should. This is a fascinating case for a number of reasons, Ryan. So you can equate this to modern times as well with the federal regulations regarding travel with a firearm. And I believe that if they rule the other way, this is not going to stand the Bruin test, brother.
Yeah, I think Bruin's really interesting here because I think back to our founding fathers as they traveled to the Constitutional Convention. I doubt any of them were worried about whether or not they had
permit was any good.
A concealed weapons license and whether that license was good as they crossed into Pennsylvania to go to Philadelphia from wherever it is they were from. And I doubt even those coming from New England and Massachusetts and New York worried about carrying a firearm. Look, that was daily life back in those days. It was expected. In fact, men of their age would have been required to be part of a militia and therefore have been armed. So the fact that, Mark, you had to consider whether or not to make the trip, and then you had to consider whether to make the trip armed, that's a de facto infringement on your Second Amendment rights. You shouldn't have to make that decision to stay home, to not travel armed. And that is the violation that's happening with the right. We don't allow states to unduly infringe on interstate travel or commerce today. We don't. The federal government has said you can't do that. And that's not with a right. That's just commerce. That's just the ability for you and me to, exchange in commerce. This is a fundamental right. Just like we couldn't and wouldn't imagine your First Amendment rights being infringed on, or you needing a concealed speaking license to travel and speak in another state. Why should you have to have a permit to travel and carry a firearm, which is a Second Amendment protected right across state lines. This is garbage. It can't withstand the Bruin test, and we need to find an honest court to deal with this and throw these things out. You and I should be able to go wherever we want, carrying whatever firearm we want.
100% agreed. And when it comes to commerce, I can't think of any job more involved with commerce than transportation. Okay? I mean, that is literally commerce. Brad Primo, your thoughts on all of this?
You know, keep in mind the law that you're citing that protects firearms owners as they travel was heavily supported by Democrats in 1986 when they closed that's the same law that closed the machine gun registry for the NFA. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, that's kind of ironic to me, but I'm going to point this out, and this is maybe to be a little bit of Debbie Downer. The Democrats have shown that they are willing to disregard federal law and tear this country apart if they think it's going to be politically advantageous to them or if it advances what they want. And so, although you may have the right on paper to travel from point A to point B, you have to understand they don't. They absolutely don't. That's why, things like, we can get the bigger conversation about the Save America Act. And, I assure you that the first thing they'll do after they sue is they'll just disregard the law and dare the federal government to actually make them, enforce voter ID laws. Well, they're going to do the same thing with national reciprocity. They're going to do the same thing with any sort of protection for firearms owners, even Bruin. There's been states that have actually openly said that they plan on defying the Supreme Court, and then let's see what they do about it.
I don't know where you ever got an idea like that the Democrats would defy something like that, Brad. I don't know where you ever concocted that crazy wacko idea. Listen, we're getting ready to take a break.
Crowds,
Yeah, when we come back, I'm going to take it back over to Justin, and I'm going to throw one more caveat at you guys regarding this case that I find extremely fascinating. It's an interesting case, to say the least. We'll go back to Justin Moon, CEO of Car Arms. When we come back, we go around the table because this is a classic Armed American Radio Roundtable every third hour of this program, getting ready to head into its 18th year on April 27th. We'll be back right after this with the crew. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Monstercast continues. Final segment of the 3-hour broadcast that has already just flown right by. It always does, but it's always fun. We're going to be right back at it tomorrow for you, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific time on Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, precisely because they don't want us to. Now's when I point out to you the attorneys on retainer card that I have right here in my hand. Please do this. Just do this. Visit them. It's $37 a month. We're going to save you $25 off your sign-up fee. So it's a great deal over there to put an attorney, a team of attorneys in your back pocket. I don't know what else to tell you other than if you've already made a decision to carry a gun, you already know bad things can happen. And when bad things can happen, guess what? They can and likely will happen after the fact, depending on where you live, even more so. So please make sure you have an attorney. It's that simple. If you have to get one after the fact, it's going to cost you everything. Trust me, attorneys will put a lien on your home. It's not necessary. $37 is not going to break the bank, and you're going to sleep a lot easier. Attorneysonretainer.us/AAR. Just get it done. I know you're thinking about it. If you haven't done it yet, just do it. It's that simple. Make the decision, make the call, visit the website, and take care of business. Welcome back to the program, guys. You can find them and all of our great partners at armedamericanradio.com or .org. We got them both covered for you, so it's real simple to do. Please take advantage of all these great things that we offer for you over there. They make the show possible every single day. Justin Moon, let me go back to you on this because there is another caveat here to this very interesting case. And Justin, before I go there, I want to point out, while we look at this as a fascinating case, and it is, we can't forget that there is a man named Mr. Johnson who is caught up in this, and his life is upended as a result of this. We can't forget the human elephant. We can't forget the human element here, Justin. It's very, very important that we remember that there's a man involved in this, and this is, likely causing much consternation to him and his family as he has to go through this. So we hope the court rules the right way and he gets some type of justice here. But I do want to point out that the caveat here is, and it's sad, and I quote from Cam Edwards at bearingarms.com. And by the way, guys, I will be on Cam & Company tomorrow. Let me make mention of that, so make sure to tune in to Cam & Company. I'll be joining Cam Edwards tomorrow, and likely this will come up. And I quote from Cam, Justin, unfortunately, Johnson's attorney did not bring up these exceptions, what we were just talking about relative to the traveler laws, when the case was in district court, so he wasn't able to use them as part of his argument on appeal, Justin. So it's a screw job all the way around times two.
Well, you're absolutely right. If there's one thing the government will do, it will screw you.
Yeah, we definitely will, which is why we don't want to trust government ever. And that takes us all the way round robin back to where we were in the first segment of the broadcast, or I should say at least with Jared Yanis when we were talking about what's happening with the pistol brace again, and this being revisited, and the ATF wanting to continue to now go after them, and the Bondi Justice Department, Trump's Justice Department, seemingly supporting the NFA here again, and the ATF and these efforts. It's an absolute mess. But Ryan, I'll get your comment on that too. It's very sad that, unfortunately, according to Cam, and I quote again, unfortunately, Johnson's attorney didn't bring up these exceptions when the case was in district court, so he wasn't able to use them as part of his argument on appeal. There's a lot of moving parts with this thing, isn't there?
Yeah, it makes me think, how important the work like the Second Amendment Foundation does in this regard, because your average run-of-the-mill lawyer is not attuned to the specifics of, Bruin and Second Amendment history, and so they're failing to make these fundamental arguments during the case or during appeal, so that they can raise these later on. And that's just, to me, I don't know the lawyers, and I don't know the case specifically. Maybe they're good lawyers in everyday practice, but my goodness, it would be worth having a seasoned Second Amendment attorney guiding you or guiding this attorney to make these arguments, because this is going to go to appeal, it's going to go circuit court, and maybe has potential to go on up. And this is such an potentially important case for all Americans. Mm-hmm. It would be worth at least an amicus brief from the Second Amendment Foundation or Gun Owners of America, or the NRA should have been involved, and so and maybe they were, and like I said, I don't know the specifics of the case.
I didn't see any mention of it, for whatever that's worth. I didn't see any mention of it.
Yeah, it's really important that we have Second Amendment knowledgeable attorneys arguing these cases from day one.
Yeah, and there is good news here for him. I don't know in what time frame we're talking about here. Only the courts know that. But I do want to point out that the court is going to consider in conference, guys, on its April 17th conference, the case of Gardner v. Maryland, where these questions will be brought up in a very similar case. So it is being addressed, it is being looked at, and hopefully we get some adjudication on this in his favor. Now, moving to another topic, here in the state of Georgia where I reside, and I want to point to Virginia, Brad. We'll start with you. You know, Virginia finds themselves in New Jersey, California, New York, Illinois, Washington, Oregon, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, Michigan, anywhere there's a Democrat in control problem, where good things are defined in those states behind the blue wall, Brad, as how few sucky things actually make it to a governor's desk, right? Wow, we defeated 8 anti-gun bills. There were 10. Only 2 of them got to the governor's desk. That's not how I view success. The way I view success is like right here in the state of Georgia, where it just went through the House and it moved through committee the other day, where we're wiping out in the state of Georgia all restrictions on suppressors in this state. There's a huge difference between red states and blue states, Brad, and none of that should exist. Whether the state is blue or red, Ryan pointed out, we are talking about a fundamental constitutional right that should not see red pill, blue pill. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do we have Brad?
We do. Maybe his phone is muted.
Yeah,
there he is.
So I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, it shouldn't be like a red pill, blue pill. I mean, it's called being an American, and you know, the Constitution says what it says, and the fact that we're having to argue about what shall not be infringed means is absolutely ridiculous when it comes to, you know, firearms.
Yeah, and you know, it's not us making that argument, shall not be we make the argument shall not be infringed, and we have to fight that every single day, but it's always the other side, Justin, that wants to infringe regardless. It's always the other side that swallows the blue pill. And this goes back, I mean, we don't have time now, it's a philosophical discussion, but this is the national divorce we've always talked about, Justin. You've got 30 seconds. It's right in front of our face. If you live in a blue state, you live in a blue state. You live in a red state, you live in a red state. You're free. You're not in a blue state. It's that simple, Justin, isn't it?
We are certainly divided. If the midterms go bad for us, you're going to get a lot of people like Mandani elected to high office. So it's going to be a scary time.
Yeah, it is, and that's not so. I wish we had more time. We're getting cut off right now. I'm going to leave us with that one right there. Not enough time to go into that. Justin, I'm looking forward to seeing you next week on the show, but of course we'll be seeing you in Houston as well for the National Rifle Association. Ryan Petty, thank you for being here. Some pretty cool stuff going on behind John Camera over there with the Sphere. Still haven't been there inside it yet. Maybe one of these days. I don't know if I ever find myself back in Vegas. Brad Primo, CEO of Lead Slingers, former combat vet, former law enforcement. We appreciate everything, your insight, wit, and wisdom. Thank you, Brad, for being here. Thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Justin. Guys, we're going to get up and do it again tomorrow precisely because they don't want us to. That's what makes it so fun. Make sure to visit all of our great partners at armedamericanradio.com that make it all possible. And guys, I'm going to have to cut the video here because of copyright restrictions, but that's okay. We're going to fix all that with these guitars behind me in the real near future. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow, guys.